Welcome to another lesson on longevity. We're talking about how to stimulate autophagy, and we are focusing on depleting stored glucose. We've talked about fasting and time-restricted eating, two powerful tools. And in this lesson, I want to talk about calorie restriction. Are there health benefits of calorie restriction? Lots and lots of them. So we're going to look at that. And on the 7 Systems Plan, we use calorie restriction to get you to your ideal weight. Unfortunately, today, we have a problem in America because we have too much protein, sugar, and carbohydrates coming into our diet. Proteins stimulate IGF-1. Sugar stimulates insulin, and carbohydrates pKa. Now, all of those things drive something called mTOR, and I want you to get familiar with that in this lesson. Too much mTOR leads to unhealthy aging, and it's one of the big reasons that we have problems with our health in America. mTOR has been called a master determinant of lifespan and aging. This is a biggie. Mammalian target of rapamycin. That's what mTOR actually is, and it's a protein kinase. But the bottom line is it tells your cells when to grow, divide, and how to survive. So there's benefits of mTOR. But too much mTOR leads to a shorter life, cancer, and many chronic health problems. Too little mTOR leads to muscle atrophy, delayed healing, and less insulin sensitivity. So we got to have a balance. You can think of mTOR, and here's a phrase to make it easy for you, mTOR motor. The action of mTOR has been described as the engine of a speeding car without brakes. So if you're in a speeding car without brakes and you step on the gas, you got lots of mTOR. If you let up on the gas, you don't have as much mTOR. And there's a time and a place for both of those things. When I travel across South Dakota from Sioux Falls to Mount Rushmore, as I've done many times, you go across the Interstate I-90. And if you've done that, well, what's the speed limit? 80 miles an hour. So you can just fly. High mTOR, no problem. But when I get to Rapid City, if I'm going 80 miles an hour, I'm going to have a wreck. You got to be able to slow down. In children, more mTOR is probably good because they're growing and needing to add more cells. When we get to be adults, we don't want mTOR on all the time. So there's a difference between children and adults. And unfortunately today, too, kids can have too much mTOR, which is why we have kids becoming diabetics and having all the diseases they do. What's the relationship between mTOR and autophagy? Well, when food is abundant, mTOR activity goes up, prompting cells of your body to divide and grow. When mTOR detects that food is scarce, it shifts the body into a conservative mode, slowing down cell division, now that makes you live longer, and kicking in a process called autophagy, which, remember, from our last series, means the self-eating of your own cells. And in that mode, it repairs, recycles, and removes unwanted things. So mTOR, pedal to the metal. Autophagy, we got the gas pedal up, slowing things down. And how does calorie restriction fit into this? Our bodies, when it realizes there's not as much food around, starts rummaging through your cells looking for anything that it doesn't need. It's like you when the refrigerator's almost empty. You really got to look around to find things. Defective proteins, malfunctioning mitochondria, stuff that isn't working anymore. All of that gets cleaned out. It clears out all the junk and recycles it into fuel or building material for new cells. Too many calories, not going to happen. But calorie restriction is actually like putting on the brakes, and that kicks in autophagy. What are the benefits of calorie restriction? Studies show that if you eat 1/3 less, you may live 24 years longer. That's a lot. But here's a bigger benefit. Besides living longer, you'll be significantly healthier and stronger, and that's a big benefit. By simply restricting calories 30%, you may get 30% more quality of life. And it's all about the quality of life you have and not necessarily the length of life, but you can have both. Now, there are many studies on primates with calorie restriction, and some of the more famous were done on monkeys. So there were 4 studies done, and unfortunately they were not designed the best. So we can't get all of the data from them that would be very helpful, but there is some. One group was in the eat when you want group. And look how mangy they look, how old they look. And then look at the calorie restricted group. Looks much younger, much healthier, much stronger, and it is. Calorie restriction is a powerful tool, and we use it on the 7 Systems Plan. As we did with Candy, in 1 year, she transformed her body and her health by restricting calories, and then got onto a healthy eating plan and maintained her progress for the next 13 years. Do countries that eat less calories live longer? Absolutely. The Okinawans are famous for the most centenarians of any country in the world. And they consume 38% less calories than the Japanese do. Now, Japanese are a pretty healthy country too. So both of these are great groups. And thinner people do live longer. If you look at countries around the world where the countries are thinner, they tend to live unusually long. What do you think the body mass index is for centenarians? Pretty low. It's actually 21. And if you look at this BMI curve, the higher your body mass index goes, the shorter your life will be. 22, 21, somewhere in there is the sweet spot where you tend to live the longest. So how does restricting calories work? How does it help you? Well, it protects you from toxins and stress. When you burn coal at a power plant, toxins are released, right? They burn coal down here at the power plant across the river. Toxins are released. When you burn food, toxins are released too. So if you're not bringing in as much food, you're not releasing as many toxins. Food also has free radicals that come along with it into your body. So the less food you're eating, the less free radicals come in. And very significantly, restricting calories helps you to lose weight. It also reduces the DNA damage that occurs in your body. Low-calorie diets are estimated to prevent 84% of the major gene changes usually seen by scientists. Low-calorie diets actually can block the genes that cause cells to grow old. And it stimulates autophagy, something we need to all be having happen. So here's your calorie restriction action steps to stimulate autophagy. Don't eat less food, but eat differently to restrict calories and stimulate autophagy. And how do you do that? The easiest way is just to follow the recommendations on the 7 Systems Plan.